Warning, this video will contain spoilers from chapter 1029. You've been warned. Hello my nakamatachi, this is JoyGirl, and today I'd like to examine partnerships in One Piece and discuss the question of who is Luffy's partner. And if you'd like to hear more of my thoughts on One Piece, then make sure to like, share and subscribe. Now onto partnerships. As a series with such a wide range of interesting characters, One Piece is filled with uniquely diverse relationship dynamics. We have mentors who significantly shape the worldview of our cast of main characters, family bonds that run even deeper than blood, whether that be father-son relationships or a sworn brotherhood, complex rivalries or lifelong frenemies. And partnerships is another very unique relationship because the number of pirates whom we know to be partners, we could count on one hand. The reason why I bring this up is because of a very engaging piece of dialogue in chapter 1029. Killer calls Kid partner. And the reason why I find this so interesting is because this single word can say quite a lot about the relationship between these two pirates. Partners in this context is viewed as a relationship between a pirate captain and his most trusted crewmate, but this hasn't meant that every pirate captain has had a trusted individual whom they would consider a partner. In fact, far from it. For the majority of cases, there is a clear rank within a crew with a captain, a number of their strongest officers, and depending on the size and formidability of the crew, perhaps a few more ranks depending on their role or different levels of strength. This system is perhaps most clear in Kaido's Beast Pirates, where we have Yonko Kaido at the top as the captain, or Governor General as is the term within their pirate crew, and then he has his three Calamities as his right-hand men, and then the Tobiroppo, headliners, and so on. But Kaido doesn't have someone we could consider a clear partner, unless you count Orochi, and then, well, no. Because seriously, if we're strictly talking one right-hand man, the closest thing we could say is that King could be considered Kaido's partner. In the recent release of Viver Cards, we found out that when Kaido went to Marineford and was intercepted by Shanks, King had accompanied Kaido on this expedition, suggesting a closer relationship of trust on a different level, but this still doesn't indicate a relationship of partnership. The hierarchy between Kaido and King in the Beast Pirates meritocratic system, King is Kaido's subordinate. If we look at the Big Mom Pirates, we have a similar dynamic with her having her suite commanders as her right-hand men and woman, and Katakuri would be the most prominent of the bunch. But again, the relationship between the two cannot be seen in the same light as a partnership. And to answer why these examples can't be considered partners, we have to have a look at the most prominent model of a partnership in the series, that being the relationship between the late Pirate King Goldie Roger and his right-hand man Silvers Rayleigh, also known as the Dark King. Even their epithets alone leads to an understanding of equal footing. The idea of the Dark King brings to mind the idea of Rayleigh being the shadow to the Pirate King. And I'm sure for a lot of fans, this suggests that compared to the typical captain and subordinate role we've seen throughout the series, Roger and Rayleigh were equals. As seen in the flashback, these two explicitly refer to each other as partners. We know Rayleigh to have been Roger's first recruit, and whilst we simply don't know enough about the dynamics of their relationship or even the characters themselves, for this same reason, we don't know Rayleigh to have held any other goal or dream apart from adopting Roger's to help him turn the world upside down. In terms of strength, Rayleigh is also known to be a powerhouse in his own right. We saw this at Sabaody in his clash against Kizaru, his demonstration of Haki at the auction house, and was the mentor who trained Luffy to become the strong captain he needed to be to lead his crew in the new world. And whilst this is in no way a claim that Rayleigh's strength rivaled Roger's, we were made to recognize Rayleigh as an equally formidable individual. So now if we look at the only other explicit partnership within the series, as of chapter 1029, we also have Kid and Killer. And when we compare Kid and Killer to Roger and Rayleigh, it does seem that they too obviously share this partner relationship. Whilst their backstory is yet to be fully divulged, we know the two are childhood friends, and Killer too was likely Kid's first crewmate, and perhaps completely shared the same dream of making Kid the next Pirate King. In chapter 1029, Killer seems to be on the same page when it comes to Kid's ambitions, and we have seen for ourselves that Killer is completely devoted to Kid and has prioritized Kid's life and journey over his own. And given the extreme lack of focus on Kid's crew, Killer is the only other fierce combatant, which was established by the fact that this was the only other captain-crewmate duo to have been given the Supernova title along with Luffy and Zoro. Which then does bring us to this question. What about Luffy? Does Luffy have a partner? You could probably make an argument that the Straw Hats as a whole are Luffy's right-hand men, but it's no surprise that one may wonder whether there is one single crewmate who embodies this role. And when we consider the concept of Luffy's first mate, our minds naturally think of Zoro. But of course, unless we're talking in the literal sense of Zoro becoming the first crewmate of Luffy's, then the swordsman doesn't actually officially hold this position. But in saying that, we have seen instances in the story to make the majority of the fanbase view Zoro to fulfill this role even if it wasn't explicitly confirmed. Again, Zoro was the first to join Luffy's crew, and although one could argue, unlike Rayleigh and Killer, who have no known personal dreams of their own, Zoro is working towards the goal of becoming the world's strongest swordsman. But this doesn't take away from his dedication to Luffy's goal. As we've seen on multiple occasions, Zoro is fully devoted to his captain and also seen sacrificing his own life and dreams for the sake of Luffy. There have been instances where Zoro was mistaken to be the captain by others, and we've also seen him in the role of leading his own captain at times when he felt like Luffy needed guidance. And whilst we've seen plenty of other Straw Hats also scold Luffy, those instances have mostly been injections of some comedy, whereas the scenarios with Zoro have been indicative of a unique dynamic where Zoro has had the role of seriously needing to remind Luffy of his own role as captain. The only other instance of a Straw Hat seriously reminding Luffy of his position that I can remember is Vivi. And of course, if we're considering strength, then it's obvious that Zoro forms an integral part of the Straw Hats combatants. So in terms of all the qualities which marks the partnership relationship, they all seem to be present between Luffy and Zoro. And indeed, this duo are already almost universally perceived to have that relationship. But then there are also dynamics not just within Luffy and Zoro's relationship, but within the Straw Hats that makes this idea of a partnership a little less clear. Firstly, of course, there's the fact that ultimately Zoro's status as first mate hasn't been confirmed, and in fact the concept of a first mate isn't really historically connected to pirates anyways. On a pirate ship, they had the pirate equivalent called the quartermaster who played this second in command role. And quartermasters had this role which included settling disputes but also being in charge of food and water supplies. Now this is where things get interesting. Because whilst it's natural to view Zoro as having this role of second in command, the traditional tasks of a quartermaster can be attributed to be shared amongst the crew. While Zoro provided the most authoritative guidance in one of the crew's greatest conflicts during the Water 7 saga, we have also seen characters like Nami, who also play a huge role in influencing Luffy with big decisions, such as the case to go save Sanji at Zou. And in terms of being in charge of food and water supplies, this is a role held by Sanji, who by the way has also at times held the extremely significant leadership role, such as temporarily captaining half of the crew. In fact, the dynamic of the monster trio makes this question even more unclear. As we get closer to the endgame of the series, it seems like we're being reminded more and more about the unique dynamic that exists between the monster trio. Both Zoro and Sanji are the wings of the future Pirate King. Now, in no way am I suggesting that Sanji is a better suited candidate to be considered Luffy's partner. I think it's pretty clear that although this relationship exists, Luffy and Zoro's dynamic as a duo receives concerted attention for a reason. I'd even go as far as to say that Oda's decision to make Sanji one of the top fighters in the crew to be introduced as the fifth Straw Hat was a conscious decision to allow an ample amount of time for Luffy and Zoro's dynamic to blossom. But what is interesting is exactly this unique dynamic of the Straw Hats. With both Roger and Rayleigh and Kid and Killer, it's also been clear that these characters are closest to one another. Having spent the most time together, it's clear that they are best friends. And whilst it's true that Luffy has spent the longest time with Zoro, it's not quite so easy to say that Zoro is Luffy's best friend. That's a title we usually prescribe to Usopp, because the true dynamic within the Straw Hats seems to be exactly that. The equally important and unique relationship that Luffy has with each of his crewmates, which is a topic I've talked about in greater detail in this video. But back to this discussion, apart from the fact that these unique relationships is just the natural outcome of them being the main characters who enjoy the most screen time and development, the fact remains that there are special reasons why Luffy needs each and every single member to become the future Pirate King to make them different from any other crew we've seen in the series. At the end of the day, Luffy has the luxury of having the whole Straw Hat crew he can fully depend on. But it goes without saying that this fateful assembly of the crew began with the very first initial meeting between our pirate rubber boy and a pirate hunter, and the rest is history. But now that you've heard my thoughts, let me know yours by leaving a comment below. Don't forget to like and share the video, and please do subscribe for more One Piece discussions. You can also join our Joy Fleet Discord server for more One Piece related fun, and even become a Patreon member, which will grant you special roles and powers within that server. Thank you to our patrons who help support the channel. This is JoyGirl, and I'll see you again soon.